The transport ship smelled like fear and metal. Sat with his back against the cold wall, watching the other humans packed into the cell. Some were crying, others stared at nothing. He counted 23 people in this cage alone, all soldiers, all defeated. Earth had fallen 3 months ago. The ships came from the sky like a swarm of insects, blocking out the sun. Their weapons turned entire cities into glass. The world governments tried to fight back. They failed. When the enemy offered terms of surrender, the leaders accepted. They had no choice. Now was property of something called the Galactic Imperium. He learned this from the guards who spoke in clicking, hissing sounds. Small devices in their ears translated their words into broken human language. The guards found this amusing. They would say things like soft meat and weak prey while laughing. Looked at the woman sitting next to him. Her uniform said her name was. She had been a medical officer before the fall. Her hands shook, but her eyes were calm. "Do you know where they're taking us?" she asked quietly. "I heard the guards talking," replied. "Something called the Proving Pits." A young man across from them looked up. His name tag read, "That sounds bad." "Everything is bad now," said another man. He was older with gray hair, an engineer from the Seoul Defense Grid. The ship suddenly lurched. Metal groaned. They had arrived somewhere. The doors opened with a hiss. Bright lights flooded the cell. Guards stood outside, tall creatures made of what looked like purple crystal. They had 4 arms each. Their faces had no eyes, just smooth surfaces that somehow still saw everything. "Move, humans," one guard said. His voice came from somewhere in his chest. "Time to see if you are worth the cost of feeding." They were marched through corridors filled with cages. Saw other species imprisoned here. Things with too many legs, things with no legs at all, creatures covered in scales, fur, or something that looked like living metal. All of them were captives. All of them looked broken. The corridor opened into a massive arena. Had seen pictures of the old Roman Colosseum in history books. This was similar but much bigger. The seats rose up in circles, filled with thousands of alien beings. They chattered and roared in languages couldn't understand. In the center was a dirt floor. Blood stained the ground in dark patches. A massive crystalline alien stepped forward. He wore armor made of bones from creatures had never seen. His 4 arms each held a different weapon. "I am Warlord," the creature announced. His voice boomed through the arena. "These humans will fight for our entertainment. If they survive, they eat. If they fail, they die. This is the way of the Imperium." The crowd cheered. It sounded like thunder. Pointed one of his arms at, "You, small human, you fight first." Guards pushed forward. He stumbled onto the arena floor. The dirt was hot under his feet. The crowd's noise grew louder. "Look at it," laughed. "No claws, no fangs, no armor plates. Humans are the weakest species we have conquered in 50 cycles. This will be brief entertainment." The aliens in the crowd laughed with him, stood in the center of the arena, alone. He looked up at the thousands of faces staring down at him. None of them thought he would live through the next few minutes. A gate on the other side of the arena opened. Something large stepped out. It walked on 4 legs but stood as tall as a truck. Its body was covered in thick scales. 6 eyes glowed red above a mouth full of teeth like swords. Its tail had spikes that dripped with something green. "This is a hunter," announced. "Bred for war, born to kill. Watch as it tears the human apart." The creature roared. The sound shook bones. It started walking toward him slowly, confidently. It had killed before. It would kill again. His heart pounded. His hands were empty. No weapons, no armor, nothing but the torn uniform on his back. He looked around the arena, rocks, dirt, a few pieces of broken bone from previous fights. The charged ran, not away but to the side. The creature was fast but was faster at turning. The crashed into the arena wall where had been standing. The crowd booed. They wanted blood, not running. Laughed, the human runs like prey, as expected. But wasn't running from the fight, he was studying. The creature was strong and fast in straight lines, but it turned slowly. Its 6 eyes were spread wide on its head, giving it good vision. But when it charged, it focused all 6 eyes forward. It had blind spots on the sides. The charged again. This time waited until the last second, then dove to the right. He grabbed a sharp rock as he rolled. The creature's claws tore through the air where his head had been. Came up behind the beast. He jumped on its back. The creature roared and bucked, trying to throw him off. Held on with one hand and stabbed the rock into the gap between its scales with the other. The screamed, green blood sprayed, but the wound wasn't deep enough. The creature slammed itself against the wall, crushing between its body and the stone. Pain exploded through his ribs. He fell to the ground, gasping. The turned, moving slower now. It was bleeding but still deadly. Forced himself to stand. His vision blurred. He could taste blood in his mouth. The creature stalked toward him, learning from its mistake. It wouldn't charge blindly anymore. Picked up a handful of hot dirt. When they got close, he threw it at those 6 red eyes. The creature roared and shook its head, blinded for just a moment, just long enough. Ran forward and slid under the beast's belly. He stabbed upward with the sharp rock, finding the soft flesh between the leg joints. Once, twice, 3 times. The collapsed. Its own weight worked against it. It tried to stand, but its legs wouldn't hold. Walked around to its head. The creature's eyes tracked him, filled with confusion. It had never lost before. "Nothing personal," said quietly. He drove the rock into the base of its skull where he guessed the brain would be. The shuddered and went still. The arena was completely silent. Stood over the dead creature, breathing hard. Blood dripped from his hands. His ribs were broken. His vision swam, but he was alive. He looked up at Warlord. The crystalline warrior stared back, his smooth face impossible to read. Then the crowd exploded. Some cheered, some roared in anger. Bets had been lost, expectations shattered. Raised one of his 4 arms. The human lives, take it back to the cells. As guards dragged away, he heard mutter to another warrior, "Primitive luck, nothing more." Back in the cell, rushed to him. Her shaking hands checked his wounds. "You shouldn't have won that," she whispered. Smiled through bloody teeth. "They have no idea what humans do when we have nothing left to lose." And gathered close. Around them, other humans watched with something that hadn't been in their eyes before. Hoping. 3 days passed before they called to fight again. Had done what she could for his broken ribs, wrapping them with torn cloth and making him rest. The guards threw food into the cells twice a day, nutrient paste that tasted like rust and dirt. Ate it anyway. He needed strength. The other humans treated him differently now. They asked questions. How did you know where to strike? How did you move so fast? Told them the truth. He didn't know anything special. He just refused to give up. But the young pilot saw something more. He spent his time watching the guards, counting their patrol patterns, nodding when they changed shifts. The engineer studied the locks on the cages. Both men were thinking beyond simple survival. On the 4th day, the guards came for again. "The crowd demands more human entertainment," one guard said, his translated words harsh and mocking. "Warlord wants to see if the first victory was truly luck." Walked into the arena. The crowd was bigger this time. Word had spread about the human who killed a hunter. Some aliens had come just to see him die. Stood in his viewing box, all 4 arms crossed. "Today, human, you face a different challenge. Let us see how you handle a thinking opponent." The gate opened. What stepped out made its blood run cold. It looked almost human, but wrong. Too tall, too thin. Its skin was pale blue and its eyes were solid black. It moved like water, smooth and flowing. In its hands it held 2 curved blades that shimmered with energy. "This is a duelist," announced. A species that has perfected combat over 10,000 years. It has killed 300 opponents in this arena. You will be 301. The bowed slightly, a gesture of respect before killing. Then it attacked. The creature moved faster than anything had ever seen. The blades cut through the air with a sound like singing. Barely dodged the first strike. The second strike cut across his shoulder, leaving a burning line of pain. Rolled away, grabbing dirt and a broken piece of bone. The didn't rush. It circled him slowly, studying his movements like a scientist examining an insect. You fight with instinct, the said. Its voice was soft, almost kind. But instinct fails against technique. I will make your death quick. It attacked again, a flurry of precise strikes, blocked with the bone. The energy blade cut through it like paper, felt another burning cut across his arm, then his leg. The crowd roared approval. This was what they expected, the human losing, the natural order restored. His mind raced. There was better than him in every way, faster, more skilled, better weapons. He couldn't win with strength or speed. But then he noticed something. The fought with perfect form. Every strike was textbook. Every movement was exactly as it should be. Beautiful, precise, predictable. Started watching the pattern. High strike, low strike, spin, thrust. The repeated variations of the same forms over and over. 10,000 years of perfected technique but no improvisation. Let himself get backed against the arena wall. The saw victory and moved in for the kill. High strike coming. Knew it. Instead of dodging away, stepped forward into the strike. The blade passed over his shoulder, so close it burned his skin. But now he was inside this guard, too close for those long blades to work. Grabbed the creature's arm and pulled hard, using this own forward momentum against it. The alien stumbled, surprised. No opponent had ever done something so crude. Drove his elbow into his throat. The creature choked, swept its legs, fell. On the ground, the perfect technique meant nothing. Fought like a human, dirty and desperate. He grabbed one of the energy blades and drove it into his chest. The alien's black eyes went wide with shock. Impossible, it whispered. I am perfection. Perfection is predictable, said. The went still. The arena erupted in chaos. Half the crowd screamed in anger. The other half roared with excitement. More bets had been lost. The impossible had happened twice. Stood in his viewing box, staring down at. The warlord's smooth, crystalline face showed nothing, but his 4 arms had uncrossed. He was paying attention now. Guards dragged back to the cells. Met him at the door, her hands already working on his new wounds. 2 impossible victories, she said quietly. They're going to study you now, figure out what makes you different. She was right. The next day, scientists came to the cells. They were small creatures covered in silver fur, with too many fingers on each hand. They scanned with devices that hummed and beeped. They took samples of his blood. They made him run and jump and solve puzzles. One scientist chattered to another in their own language. The translation device gave broken words, pattern recognition, unusual, adaptability higher than expected, stress response abnormal. What does it mean? Another scientist asked. It means humans are more interesting than we thought, the first replied. But still weak, still inferior. This one simply got lucky twice. After the scientists left, moved close to. The young pilot's eyes were bright with purpose. I've been watching the guards for weeks, whispered. They change shifts every 8 hours. For 3 minutes during the change, the North Corridor is unwatched. Join them. The locks on these cages are electronic, but they have a manual override in case of power failure. I can see the mechanism through the gap. Why are you telling me this? Asked. Because you showed us something, said, bandaging his wounds. You showed us that we don't have to accept this. Every time you walk into that arena, you're fighting for all of us. Looked around the cell. Other humans were listening now. A woman named Sara who had been a tactical officer, a man named Minu who knew explosives, a young woman named who had worked with computer systems. "They think we're weak," said slowly. "They think we're prey. Maybe we should let them keep thinking that." "While we plan," said. "While we prepare," added. "While we learn everything we can about them," whispered. Nodded. "I'll keep fighting, keep winning, give us time." "And if you lose?" Sora asked. "Then you fight without me," said, "but I don't plan on losing." That night lay on the cold floor, his body aching from new wounds. He could hear the other humans whispering to each other, making plans, sharing information. Hope was a dangerous thing. It could get them all killed, but it was also the most human thing could imagine. The guards thought they had broken humanity. They thought they had turned proud soldiers into frightened prisoners. They were wrong. Humans didn't break, they bent, they adapted, they learned, and when the moment was right, they struck back. Closed his eyes and smiled through the pain. Let the aliens think he was lucky. Let them believe humans were weak. Let them make their biggest mistake. The first mistake was underestimating what humans could do. Planned to make sure they never got a chance to correct it. The third fight came a week later, had used the time to heal and watch. Every guard that passed, every alien that visited the cells, every sound and smell and pattern in the prison ship. He memorized all of it. The other humans were doing the same. Discovered that the electronic systems used a simple binary code. Minu found where the guards stored their weapons. Sara mapped every corridor they could see from the cells. They were building a picture, piece by piece. When the guards came for, he was ready. His ribs had healed enough to move properly. Had found some real food in the garbage from the guards' mess. It wasn't much, but it was better than nutrient paste. The arena was packed. Fights had become popular entertainment. Aliens came from other ships to watch the human who refused to die. Betting was heavy. Most bets were against him. Looked down from his viewing box. "You have surprised us twice, human, but patterns end. Today you face something that cannot be beaten by tricks." The gate opened. What slithered out was a nightmare. A serpent as thick as a tree and 30 feet long. Its scales were black and shimmered with oil. 2 heads rose from the body, each with fangs that dripped green venom. 4 eyes per head, all fixed on. The announced, a creature from the poison swamps of IV. Its venom kills in seconds. Its scales cannot be pierced by anything in this arena. There is no defeating it. There is only dying. The crowd cheered. Finally, they would see the human fail. He attacked immediately. Both heads struck at once, fangs extended. Threw himself backward, rolling across the hot sand. The head struck where he had been, so fast they were just blurs. Ran to the side. The serpent followed, moving across the ground like flowing water. Fast, deadly, perfect. But wasn't trying to fight it, not yet. He was watching, learning. The first head struck high. The second struck low. They alternated in a pattern. High, low, high, low. The creature had been trained to attack this way, to give its prey no safe direction to dodge. Counted the timing. Strike every 3 seconds, 1.5 seconds between each head. He ran toward the arena wall, making the chase him. The head struck again and again, always just missing. The crowd grew louder, excited by the chase. But was counting, timing, learning the exact rhythm. On the 20th strike, he saw his moment. The first head attacked high, didn't dodge. He stepped forward and to the left, moving into the gap between the 2 heads. The second head struck where he should have been. The first head snapped around, trying to correct, but was already moving. He grabbed the first head behind its jaw, right where it couldn't turn to bite him. The thrashed, trying to throw him off. The second head struck at him but used the first head as a shield. The fangs bit deep into the first head's neck. The screamed, a sound like metal tearing. It had poisoned itself. The creature went wild, slamming into walls, rolling across the arena floor. held on, his arms burning from the effort. The venom was working fast. The first head went limp, dropped and rolled away as this body convulsed. The second head tried to strike at him, but its movements were getting slower. The venom was spreading through the shared body. 3 minutes later, the was dead. Stood over it, breathing hard but not seriously wounded. The crowd was silent again. Then someone started cheering. Then more. Soon half the arena was roaring approval. Even some aliens who had lost money were impressed. Stared down at for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. He smiled. At least, his crystalline face shifted in a way that seemed like a smile. "Interesting," the warlord said. "Very interesting." After that fight, everything changed. Name spread through the Imperium's entertainment networks. The Terra Anomaly, they called him. Ships from other star systems tuned in to watch his fights. More humans were brought to the proving pits, hopping to recreate his success. Most of them died, but a few survived, a few learned. The scientists came back, more of them this time. They ran more tests, scanned brain while he solved problems, measured his reaction times, studied his blood under microscopes. "The human brain is fascinating," one scientist told another, not caring that could hear. "It recognizes patterns faster than most species. It adapts to new situations within minutes. It can function under stress that would shut down our mind." "But these are minor advantages," another scientist replied. "Parlor tricks. The humans are still physically weak. Their technology was primitive. They surrendered after 3 months. They are not a threat." The lead scientist nodded. "Agreed. This one is an anomaly, an interesting specimen, but nothing that concerns the Imperium's security." They left, confident in their conclusions. Returned to the cells, where his fellow humans waited. "They think you're just a curiosity," said, cleaning a small cut on his arm. "They don't understand." "Good," replied. "Let them think that." "Had news. I've been talking to other humans in the cells down the corridor. There are over 300 of us on this ship alone, and I heard guards mention other prison ships. Thousands of humans spread across the Imperium." "Can we reach them?" Sora asked. "The guards use a communication network," said. "I've been watching how they access it. The codes change, but there's a pattern. Give me time and I can break it." Pointed to a vent in the ceiling. "The air system connects all the cells. We could pass messages, coordinate." Minyu grinned. "I found something better. The guards store fusion cores 2 levels down. Small ones used for powering the ship's secondary systems, but in the right hands." Boom, finished. They spent the next weeks preparing. Fought 2 more times, winning both matches. Each victory bought them more time. Each victory made the guards more complacent. Against a telekinetic creature that could move objects with its mind. Won by forcing close combat where mental powers were useless. Against a warrior wearing powered armor. Won by destroying the armor's joints until it became a prison instead of protection. The Imperium's entertainment networks couldn't get enough. Ratings were the highest they had been in years. Warlord started making money from the broadcasts, selling advertising to other systems. But was also watching carefully. He saw something in that the scientists missed. He saw a warrior who learned from every fight, who got better instead of weaker, who never gave up. One night visited the cells personally. He stood outside's cage, his 4 arms crossed, his smooth face reflecting the dim lights. "You are not what we expected, human," said. "I'm exactly what you should have expected," replied. "You just weren't paying attention. The scientists say you are not a threat, that your advantages are minor." "Do you believe them?" Was quiet for a moment. "I have conquered 40 worlds in my lifetime. I have fought 1,000 species. I have learned to recognize danger." He leaned closer to the cage. "You are dangerous, human, not because you are strong, but because you refuse to accept defeat." "Then why not kill me now?" asked. Laughed, a sound like crystals breaking. Because you make me money, because the crowds love you, because, for the first time in 50 cycles, the proving pits are interesting again. He turned to leave, then paused. But do not mistake my amusement for foolishness. If you become a real problem, I will end you myself. After left, moved close to. He knows something is different about you. But he thinks he has it under control, said. That's his mistake. Around them in the cell, humans were passing whispered messages through the vents. Codes were being broken. Plans were being made. The Imperium had made many mistakes with humanity. They underestimated human adaptability. They didn't understand human stubbornness. They thought entertainment was harmless. But their biggest mistake was giving humans time to think, time to plan, time to recognize patterns in the enemy's behavior. And humans were very good at recognizing patterns. 2 months after his first fight, had won 12 battles, 12 impossible victories. The Imperium's entertainment networks broadcast his fights to 847 star systems. Billions of aliens watched the human who refused to die. But while the crowds watched fight in the arena, they didn't see what was happening in the shadows. Had broken the communication codes. Messages now flowed between human prisoners across multiple ships. Over 3,000 humans were coordinating in secret. Had designed simple weapons from scraps and garbage, nothing the guards would recognize as dangerous, but in the right hands at the right time they would be deadly. Minyu had mapped the locations of every fusion core and power junction on the ship. He knew exactly where to strike to cause maximum damage. Sora had created a battle plan that used every advantage humans had: speed, adaptability, the willingness to take risks that seemed insane. And had done something else. She had started talking to the other species in the cells. Not all aliens loved the Imperium. Many were slaves just like humans. She whispered hope to them. She showed them that the mighty could fall. Everything was ready. They just needed the right moment. Then made an announcement that changed everything. The Grand Arena, the warlord declared, his voice booming through the ship's speakers. In 3 days, the human will fight in the Grand Arena before the Imperium's ruling council. All 8 systems will watch. This will be the greatest entertainment in a generation. The guards cheered. The prisoners went quiet. Grabbed's arm. The Grand Arena is on the throne world, the capital of the entire Imperium, if they take you there. They take me away from here, finished. Away from all of you, away from the plan. His face was pale. We have to move now before they transfer you. We're not ready, Sora said. We need another week to coordinate with all the other ships. We don't have a week, replied. They argued in whispers while thought. The Grand Arena, the ruling council, billions watching, it was too perfect. We use it, said quietly. Everyone stopped talking. The Imperium wants a show, continued. We'll give them one they'll never forget, but not the way they expect. He laid out his plan. It was insane. It would probably get them all killed, but it was also the best chance they would ever have. 3 days later, guards loaded onto a transport ship. Sora, Minyu, and were brought along too. The human support team said, to keep him healthy for the fight. But they all knew the real reason. The Imperium wanted to make sure his friends watched him die. The throne world was massive, a planet covered in towers that reached into space. Ships filled the sky like metal clouds. This was the heart of an empire that ruled 847 systems. The Grand Arena made the proving pits look tiny. It held over 1 million spectators. Every seat was filled. Aliens of 1,000 species crowded together, all waiting to see the famous human. In the highest box sat the ruling council, 12 beings, each one representing the Imperium's founding species. They wore robes made of light and crowns made of captured stars. They had ruled the galaxy for 3,000 years. They looked bored. Stood in the center of the arena. Above him, screens showed his face to every corner of the stadium. Cameras broadcast to every system in the Imperium. Billions were watching. Stepped forward speaking to the crowd. Honored council, respected citizens, today we have brought you the Terra anomaly, the human who has won 12 impossible victories, but all victories must end. The crowd roared approval. Today, continued, I will personally end the human story. I will show you all that even the most interesting prey is still just prey. The crowd went wild. Looked up at his friends in the prisoner's box, gave him a small nod, touched his ear, cracked his knuckles, the signal. It was time. Entered the arena. He carried weapons in all four arms, a plasma blade, an energy whip, a graviton hammer, a neural disruptor. Each weapon could kill a dozen different ways. Any last words, human? Asked. Smiled, yes, thank you. Smooth face couldn't show confusion, but his body language did. Thank me. For what? For gathering your entire ruling council in one place, for putting billions of eyes on this arena, for giving me the perfect stage. The fight began. Attacked with the speed of a warrior who had fought for centuries. His four arms moved in patterns too complex to follow. Each weapon struck from a different angle. But had fought for months against the Imperium's best. He had learned to read attacks before they happened. He saw the pattern in strikes. Dodged the plasma blade, rolled under the energy whip, ducked the graviton hammer. The neural disruptor missed by inches. You cannot dodge forever, snarled. I don't need to, replied. He wasn't trying to win, not yet, he was buying time. In the prisoner's box, fingers flew across a stolen data pad. She had been working on the arena system since they arrived. Now she found what she needed: access to every camera, every broadcast system, every screen in 847 systems. She looked at, nodded. Pressed a button. Every screen in the arena changed. Instead of showing the fight, they showed something else. Images of humans in cells, humans being beaten by guards, humans dying in the proving pits. Then the screens showed other species, all the slaves of the Imperium, all the conquered people, all the suffering hidden behind the entertainment. The crowd grew quiet. In the arena, stopped dodging. He lets gravity hammer hit him. The weapon sent him flying across the arena floor. He crashed into the wall hard enough to crack stone. Stood up slowly, blood running down his face. He looked up at the cameras, at the billions watching. My name is, he said. His voice was amplified across the entire arena. I am human. My world was conquered 3 months ago. My people were enslaved. We were told we were weak, inferior, prey. Charged at him, didn't move. But we are not prey, continued. We are not weak. Every species watching this, every slave in the Imperium, you are not weak either. They want you to believe you are. They want you to give up, to accept their rule. Swung the plasma blade, caught the warlord's arm. The blade stopped inches from his throat. But I learned something in these months, said, staring into smooth face. I learned that the mighty always make the same 2 mistakes. He twisted his arm. The warlord grunted in pain. The first mistake was underestimating us, thinking we would stay broken, thinking we would accept slavery. Pulled his arm down and drove his knee into the warlord's chest. Crystalline armor cracked. The last mistake was giving us time to fight back. Grabbed the neural disruptor from his hand and fired it point-blank into the warlord's chest. Screamed and fell. The arena was silent. 1 million aliens watched a human stand over their greatest warrior. Looked up at the ruling council. You made those mistakes with humanity. You made them with every species you conquered, and now you'll pay for them. He pressed something in his hand. A signal device had built. Across the throne world, in the prison ships, in the slave camps, humans received the signal. They attacked at once. Fusion cores exploded. Guards were overwhelmed. Locks were broken. On 800 systems, slaves saw the broadcast. They saw a human defeat a warlord. They saw the truth about the Imperium. And they rose up. In the arena, alarms began to scream. The ruling council stood in shock as reports flooded in. Revolts on 200 worlds, ships hijacked, armies in chaos. Spoke one more time to the cameras. We didn't start this war, but we're finishing it. Every species that wants freedom, fight with us. Every slave that wants dignity, rise up. They can't stop us all. He looked down at who was struggling to stand. You asked if I had any last words. I do. We are human. We don't break. We don't surrender. And we never ever stop fighting. Guards flooded the arena, fought them knowing he would probably die. But he had done what he needed to do. He had sparked the fire. Then and the others burst from the prisoner's box, weapons in hand. They fought their way to side. Did you really think we'd let you do this alone? Shouted over the sound of weapons fire. Together, the 7 humans fought back to back. Around them, the Imperium's greatest arena became a battlefield. And across 847 systems, slaves of 1,000 species began to fight for freedom. The war had begun. The first week of the war was chaos. The Imperium's military moved quickly to crush the rebellion. They sent battle fleets to 200 worlds. They executed prisoners. They bombed cities where humans had taken control. The ruling council was confident. They had crushed rebellions before. They had superior weapons, trained soldiers, and 3,000 years of experience conquering lesser species. They didn't understand what they were fighting. And his team escaped the throne world in a stolen ship, piloted while hacked their transponder codes, kept the engines running with spare parts and luck. They made it to a human-controlled station in the outer systems. What they found there amazed them. Thousands of humans had gathered, not just soldiers, but engineers, doctors, teachers, and farmers, everyone who had survived the conquest. They had taken over 3 Imperium ships and were converting them for human use. A woman named Wu, a former admiral, took command. We need strategy, she said at the first war council. We can't fight them ship to ship. They outnumber us 1,000 to 1. Then we don't fight their war, replied. We fight a human war. He explained what he learned in the arena. The Imperium was strong but predictable. They followed rules. They had protocols. They thought like an empire that had never lost. We don't have rules, Sora said, laying out tactical plans. We don't follow their protocols. We hit them where they're not looking. Minyu grinned. Guerrilla warfare like the old wars on Earth. They started small. Human teams in fast ships would attack supply convoys, steal what they needed, and disappear before the Imperium could respond. Taught other engineers how to turn Imperium technology against itself, building traps and bombs from scrapped parts. Created a network of hackers. They infiltrated Imperium computer systems, spreading false information, redirecting fleets to empty systems, and causing confusion at every level. But the real weapon was psychological. Remembered something from her medical training. Fear was a chemical reaction. Stress caused mistakes, and the Imperium had never experienced real fear before. She helped create broadcasts that were sent to every system, videos of humans winning impossible victories, stories of slaves breaking free, messages that told the truth about the Imperium's cruelty. Other species started to listen. Some joined the rebellion, others just stopped cooperating with the Imperium. Supply chains broke down, worlds refused to send troops, the Empire started cracking. The Imperium's military tried to adapt. They sent their best general, a tactical genius named to end the human threat, had never lost a battle. He studied human tactics and prepared counter-strategies. His first move was brilliant. He predicted where the humans would strike next and set a trap. 3 human ships jumped into what they thought was an undefended supply depot. Instead, they found an entire battle fleet waiting. 2 ships were destroyed immediately. The third, commanded by, barely escaped. "They're learning," reported back. "They're adapting to our tactics." Good said, "We'll adapt faster." The next attack was different. Instead of hitting military targets, humans started targeting the Imperium's economy. Hackers crashed banking systems. Menu's teams destroyed manufacturing plants. Sara coordinated strikes on trade routes. The Imperium could replace military losses, but they couldn't fight a war without resources. Adapted again. He started using the Imperium's conquered species as shields, putting them in front of his military forces. He knew humans wouldn't want to kill other slaves. He was right, human attacks slowed down. Then had an idea. Instead of attacking, she started sending medical supplies to the species was using as shields. Food, medicine, messages of hope. She showed them that humans weren't their enemy. Many of those species switched sides. They turned on forces from within. The general lost an entire fleet to a mutiny. This pattern continued for months. The Imperium would try a new strategy. Humans would counter it in unexpected ways. The war wasn't just being fought with weapons. It was being fought with ideas. Led missions personally, hitting targets that seemed impossible. He didn't just fight to win battles. He fought to inspire. Every victory showed other species that the Imperium could be beaten. Wu coordinated the larger strategy, moving human forces like pieces on a chessboard. She was always 3 moves ahead, predicting where the Imperium would commit their forces and striking somewhere else. After 6 months, the Imperium controlled only half the territory they started with. After a year, it was less than a quarter. Their economy was collapsing. Their military was stretched thin. Species they had ruled for centuries were in open revolt. The ruling council met in emergency session. For the first time in 3,000 years, they were losing. "We need to negotiate," one council member said. "We do not negotiate with prey," another shouted. But the first council member pulled up casualty reports, economic projections, rebellion statistics. "They are not prey, we were wrong. If we continue this war, we will lose everything." Attended the council meeting. He had survived his defeat in the arena but lost his position as warlord. He sat in the corner, watching. "I told you the human was dangerous," he said quietly. "You didn't listen." The council sent envoys to negotiate. They offered to recognize human sovereignty over Earth and the systems humans controlled. They offered reparations. Met the envoys in a neutral station. Sara, Menu, and stood with him. They had been through everything together. "Your offer is insufficient," said. The lead envoy, a being made of living light, flickered with anger. "Insufficient. We are offering you your freedom." "We already took our freedom," replied. "What you're offering is to stop trying to kill us. That's not enough." "Then what do you want?" Leaned forward. "Freedom for every enslaved species in the Imperium. Dismantling of the proving pits and all slave camps. Reparations not just for humans but for every species you've conquered. And prosecution of those responsible for war crimes." The envoy flickered brighter. "Impossible. That would mean the end of the Imperium." "Yes," said simply, "it would." The negotiations took 3 months. The Imperium tried to maintain some of their power, but more species joined the rebellion every day. Finally, they had no choice. The treaty was signed on a human station. The Imperium agreed to all terms. They would release all slaves, dismantle their military to a defensive force, pay reparations for 100 years. Their ruling council would stand trial for crimes against sentient beings. The empire that had ruled for 3,000 years ended in a single day. Stood on the observation deck of the station, watching ships carrying freed slaves to their home worlds. Billions of beings were going home. Joined him, "We won." "We survived," corrected. We fought back, we refused to give up. What will you do now? She asked. Thought about it. The war was over. Earth was being rebuilt. Humans were spreading across the systems that had been conquered, helping other species find their freedom. I think I'll teach, he said. There are young people who need to understand what happened, why it happened, how to make sure it never happens again. 10 years passed. The galaxy was different now. The freed species formed a coalition based on cooperation, not conquest. Trade replaced tribute. Diplomacy replaced war. Was older now, his hair gray. He taught at the military academy on Earth. Young officers from a dozen species came to learn from him. One day, a student asked him about the war. How did you know you could win? The Imperium was so much stronger. Smiled, they were stronger in some ways, but they made two critical mistakes. What were they? The first mistake was underestimating what humans could do when we have nothing left to lose. They saw our weaknesses but not our strengths. They didn't understand that humans don't need to be the biggest or the strongest. We just need to be the most stubborn. And the second mistake. The last mistake was giving us time to fight back. They could have destroyed Earth completely. Instead, they tried to enslave us. They gave us time to learn, time to adapt, time to plan. Looked out the window at Earth's blue sky. They gave us time to show the galaxy that freedom is worth fighting for. The student nodded thoughtfully. Do you think humans are special, better than other species? No, said firmly. We're not special, we're not better. We just refuse to accept that we were beaten. Any species can do that, every species should. He dismissed the class and walked through the academy grounds. He passed a memorial that listed every human who died in the war, thousands of names, each one a person who fought for something bigger than themselves. Found him there. She was a doctor now, running a hospital that treated patients from all species. Thinking about the old days, she asked. Sometimes, admitted, we lost so much. But we gained more, freedom, dignity, hope. They stood together in comfortable silence. Around them, students from a dozen worlds trained together. Humans working alongside the same species that once enslaved them, building something new. Approached slowly. The former warlord was old now, his crystalline body dulled with age. He had served his sentence for war crimes and now worked as a historian, documenting what the Imperium had done. I wanted to apologize, said, for everything. Looked at him, you already apologized, many times. I know, but I need to keep saying it. I need to remember what we did, what I did. Then remember, said, remember and teach, make sure it never happens again. Nodded and walked away. Watched him go. Do you think he's really changed? I think he's trying, replied. That's all we can ask. As the sun set over Earth, thought about everything that had happened. The conquest, the slavery, the fights in the arena, the war, the victory. They had won because the Imperium made mistakes, but also because humans refused to be what their enemies thought they were. The Imperium expected slaves, they got warriors. They expected prey, they got predators. They expected humans to break, instead humans broke them. Smiled and walked back to his office. Tomorrow he would teach another class. He would tell another generation about the war, about the price of freedom, about the importance of never underestimating anyone. Because the lesson wasn't just for humans, it was for everyone. Never underestimate those who have nothing left to lose. And never give them time to fight back.